We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day's going well. It is Saturday. We're recording this Friday afternoon, and I'm very happy to say that we have Ed back in the fold. We've been a couple of weeks since we last talked, at least 2 or 3 weeks, and it's always great to have Ed back. I know I get a lot of comments, and when the fuck is Ed's coming back? Get Ed back there. Okay, he's here. We
Yeah.
got him.
Well,
So
you
Ed's
were
been
travel.
traveling around a little bit.
Yeah, you were traveling one week and I was traveling the next, so that's why
Yeah.
couldn't hook up. But yeah, I actually visited our old stomping grounds in Minnesota. My wife and I have a niece who has inherited our theater gene apparently, and we got to see her perform as the witch in a production of Into the Woods. She was brilliant. And I was very proud of her, and I thought it was a great production. So it was well worth the driving 2,000 miles.
Yeah, driving that far down to Tennessee and up to Minnesota, that's a trek. I drove down to Tennessee and further down to Savannah, and I don't think I want to do that again. But you would think that with all the stuff going on with Donald Trump and all that shit, Ed comes back to the state of Minnesota. Ed and Mike probably hang out, maybe have lunch, maybe have dinner, talk about some shit. Nope, we didn't see each other at all. Ed gets back here and he's busy. He's got family to contend with. And I'm sitting here doing podcast and TikTok. So we weren't able to connect up this time, but you have plans to move back. So that'll offer an interesting option for us down the road.
Yeah, thanks for broadcasting that. No, I'm kidding. That is pretty much what we're looking at, and that was part of the trip too. We wanted to check out a few neighborhoods and areas that we might be interested in relocating to, because I'm not going to say it's dangerous down here yet, but it could be, for people who um, for example, the senators who came out and said it's the Army's obligation to disobey illegal orders are all getting death threats. So, which they are correct. By the way, I served in the United States Army, and in basic training, they showed us a film, a reenactment of the My Lai massacre, and we were told in no uncertain terms, it is your obligation to disobey an illegal order like this. You have to do it, and if you don't, you'll suffer the consequences. Just following orders is not a defense. So there
Absolutely. And
you go.
I will just tell you this, Ed. Fortunately, the people who listen to this podcast, all friends. I don't ever get Trump humpers or idiots coming through on the podcast comments. So we're free to talk the way we want to talk. And if somebody doesn't like it, fuck it. Um, you brought up the situation where the members of Congress who are veterans said you must follow um, lawful orders, but you don't have to follow unlawful orders. And
Right.
that just caused a firestorm. Donald Trump was upset about it. Of course, he was upset about it uh, because he's making a lot of unlawful orders. Now they're telling the military you don't have to do it. And we're hearing that the military is reaching out to lawyers and shit, concerned for themselves as to what's an illegal order or a lawful order. What do I have to do? What's going to happen to me if I do that? So people are concerned about it. They are thinking about it. But what surprised me was the Republicans coming out
Yeah.
and saying that these people were suggesting that military should ignore lawful orders by the president. And somebody brought up to them, well, no, we're talking about unlawful orders. And then they said,
Yeah.
you're suggesting that Donald Trump at some point gave an unlawful order? Is that what you're suggesting? Well, I can think of 10 right off the top of my head. But
It's no
this is how
problem.
they continue to try to spin this shit.
Yeah. Well, it's like the shutdown. They want to give health care to illegal aliens, which was bullshit, and everybody knew it. And why every news organization in the country didn't immediately say, this is bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. And anytime it came out of a Republican's mouth, they should have gone right back and said, that's bullshit. Whether it was Trump or any of his, or Johnson or any of his minions, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. That's what the media should be doing. They're not doing it. we have no real media left. It's left to people like you and me, Mike, to point out the hypocrisy that is going on because the media has been bought,
But
the news media.
is it, well, it's interesting what you saying that because I'm getting more sense of that. We've got this Larry Ellison guy that owns Oracle is alleged to have a deal with TikTok.
Yeah,
Chinese say there is no deal, so we don't even know what the
right.
fuck's going on with
We don't
TikTok.
know what's going on.
But he's looking at buying a lot of shit like CNN and some other media outlets. He's going to own a lot of shit. One rich guy is going to own a lot of shit. And correct me if I'm wrong. The fairness doctrine,
Yeah.
when that fairness doctrine was around, you were limited about what kind of outlets you could buy and how many you could buy. Correct, in a
That
given
was
market.
part of it. That was part of it. Yeah, the you could not, for example, own a TV station, a radio station, and a newspaper in a market. And I don't think you could own radio and TV. I might be wrong on that, but you certainly couldn't own all of the media in a given area.
Well, I think you could own TV and radio because we had the
Mm,
Hubbards back here
sure.
in Minnesota, so they were doing that. But you couldn't have like two radio stations in town. You couldn't
No.
have four radio stations in a nearby market. Now we've got Sinclair that's spreading like a fucking disease everywhere, and
Yeah.
they're nothing but a right, radical right broadcasting outfit that's similar to Fox News.
Oh, absolutely. I am in a news desert here, in that every TV station and every newspaper is owned by a right-wing organization of some kind. The only ones that aren't were public radio and public television, which of course been defunded on the national level. Many will survive because they weren't getting much money from CPB anyway. The station we worked for never got very much. We got by on contributions from listeners and a few grants and underwriting from businesses. We got a token amount of $15,000 each year for an equipment grant, and that was about it.
Yeah. Well, you know, the media right at this point for me, I would tell folks when we talk about mainstream media, I would just pretty much ignore it. Even the likes of MSNBC and certainly CNN. Um, MSNBC may be the best for liberal folks to watch, maybe the closest to truthful, but they tend to bend things now and again too. It depends on who the reporter is. Lawrence O'Donnell, he doesn't give a fuck. He just says what he
Right.
says, and I trust him. Nicole Wallace, kind of the same way. I feel good about her, but some of the others, they just get ridiculous. I mean, I saw a host from CNBC talking to Hakeem Jeffries about the ACA subsidies, and she was full on Fox News at this point,
Yeah.
and Hakeem tore her up. There's really nobody in media we can trust at this point in mainstream media.
No, and what this goes back to as well, and I think we have to always go here when we talk about this sort of thing. This goes back to Citizens United and to lowering taxes on rich people that started with Reagan. When you give anybody the resources to be able to buy a network, number one, that is a problem. Number two, when dark money, when you can give as much as you want and nobody knows who's doing it and so forth, this is going to affect politics in a negative way, which we have seen, and it will continue to do that until that is corrected. But ultimately, the solution is to tax the fuck out of the rich people, the billionaires, the 1%, like we used to, and then you keep them from having the resources to buy up all of the news media, which is what they have done. Now, I grew up in an era where they controlled everything, and it was, people look back at the 50s and think happy days. No, they were not happy except for a few white guys.
The white
Okay.
guy, yeah, it was great.
But that's the thing. This is what has to be. Uh, Democratic socialism is the only way to go. We have to knock down these fortunes just like Teddy Roosevelt and FDR eventually did before. Because as soon as World War II was over and the Republicans started to get back into power, Their aim was to destroy everything that Teddy and FDR had done, to equalize the playing field and create the middle class. They are out to destroy the middle class. That is their aim, number one, and to what's the word I want? Put women back in the kitchen and the bedroom. That's it.
Right.
Which reminds me, we just saw the education department, which is being dismantled, decide that a number of professions, including nurses and other health workers, teachers with master's degrees and so forth, would no longer be considered as professionals. And what this does, of course, is it allows them to not give them government-backed loans, for example, in order to achieve this, but also it denigrates the profession. All of these professions, I might point out, are dominated by women. And they're not exclusively women, but they do tend to be a lot of women in education, a lot of women in healthcare, right? And the other thing is, and this is the scary part, and this is what nobody talks about, but they are all mandated reporters. Yeah. Meaning that if they see child abuse, they are mandated, they have to report it. There is a cabal of these pedophiles, call them that.
Pedophiles, yeah.
You know, it's across the board pedophilia that these guys are advancing. There's no way to look away from that. Trump is a big part of that. His modeling agencies and all that. I don't believe he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. I believe he was partners with Jeffrey Epstein. And I think that is what will eventually come out if it is allowed to. That he was as heavily invested in Jeffrey Epstein's business as Jeffrey was. He was a partner.
I agree with you. He might have even been the boss.
It could have been, yes.
I agree with you. You know, I noticed something recently, and I was confused by it at first. We have the Epstein victims / survivors coming out and talking to the press. Mm-hmm. They talk about the horrors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, but they never talk about Donald Trump. That's interesting. When they are asked about Donald Trump, they go, "Oh, I don't know. He was fine, I guess." Virginia Giuffre was famous for saying, "Yeah, he was all right. He was a gentleman." And then somebody recently came on one of the networks, and I think Jen Psaki asked her because she was an Epstein victim, and she was frequently sent over to Mar-a-Lago. Okay.
Yeah.
And so Jen Psaki asked the obvious question: do you think that Donald Trump was knowledgeable about the arrangement with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and what was going on there? And this is what she said. She said, I don't think he was. I don't know if he was aware of the arrangement. I can't really answer that. I'm sorry. And what it strikes me is there's a lot of fear in these women, and justifiably so.
And they should be. They should be.
Because he's the most powerful man in the country. The one thing, remember when it came out in the emails, and we can talk about those more because we haven't talked about that much. The email said Donald Trump spent multiple hours in a room with one of Epstein's victims. They didn't release the name because you don't release the name of victims. Well, the Republicans dug out the name and said it was Virginia Giuffre, the woman who committed suicide. And they mentioned her because she had said at one point, "Oh, it's fine with Donald Trump. I don't have any problems with Donald Trump." The question I have is, if that's true, please explain to me what a grown adult man is in a room alone with a 15-year-old girl for multiple hours. Are we to believe they were playing fucking Parcheesi? I think Virginia Giuffre was fearful of what Donald Trump may do. And it's not just about him being president. President is just adding to the problems. Most powerful guy in the world, he can make you disappear without anybody questioning it. At least, without the dumb fucks questioning it. But even before he was president. You'll remember there was this lawsuit that came out where Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump were co-defendants. And it was
Yeah.
from a young woman who, at the time of 13 years old, was claiming that they both together raped her. And
Yeah.
they said what happened in the documents. I read the documents and it was horrific. And then as we got closer to the election, she kind of disappeared. The lawsuit went away. Some people say, well, she got paid off. I don't think that's the case. Donald Trump doesn't go in his pocket for money. He goes
No.
in other people's pockets for money. I'm convinced that there was some kind of threat there. And at some point, people are fearful for their lives or their families or whatever. I think this is what's happening with these Epstein Epstein victims. They're terrified of what Donald Trump will do. He's proven that he's vindictive. Look at what happened with the 6 veteran members of Congress who he said
Yeah.
they should be hung. Um,
Yeah.
I think when Donald Trump is out of power, there's going to be a lot of shit that comes out from these women and other women for that matter.
Oh, absolutely. I think he killed his wife or had her killed. Ivanka, I
It's
think, or I mean, Ivana, I think he had her killed because her NDA was running out. I think he's had other people killed over the years, including Jeffrey Epstein. I think that was it. I think he ordered that. I think they orchestrated it. I think he was murdered. I don't think he committed suicide. He would have no reason to at that point. He still had leverage on Donald Trump. So that's why he was dead. He had leverage on Donald Trump. Ivana had leverage on Donald Trump. They're dead. They're Virginia, uh, Jeffrey. I don't think she committed suicide. It's possible, I suppose, but I don't think so. I think she was murdered. I think he is a mafia figure, has always been. He was a builder in New York. And from what I'm told, if you're a builder in New York, you're working with the mafia on some level. You have to. But otherwise, materials don't show up. Things fall down. You know what I'm saying?
well, the interesting thing of Jeffrey Epstein's death and everybody surrounding that um, doesn't believe that he committed suicide. And now, when those emails came out, it painted a different perspective of why he may have been killed. Because Jeff, people will say, well, you say he's his friend. Why would he kill his friend? Or you say he didn't even know him. Why would he kill somebody he didn't even know, or that he's not guilty of something? Those emails came out and they depicted Epstein and Donald Trump as friends up to a point.
Yeah.
Up to a point, and there was a point where Epstein and Michael Wolff were talking about how to set him up, how to
Yeah.
bring him down, how to
Yeah.
destroy him. Now, all those things that come out of the Epstein estate, I guarantee you they're in the fucking DOJ too.
Oh, yeah.
So he knew
Absolutely.
about this. He knew about this. He felt this. And the only way to protect himself from Jeffrey Epstein wasn't to pay him off because he had money, wasn't to get him out of jail because that wouldn't work. The only way he could feel safe with Jeffrey Epstein around is if he wasn't alive anymore. And that's why I say you better worry about Ghislaine Maxwell
Yeah.
because you can bribe her, you can put her in a better prison, but as long as she knows and as long as she talks, she's at risk.
Yeah.
I think at
I
some
think
point she will disappear somehow.
absolutely she'll have some sort of accident or, I mean, Putin is blatant when he does it. He sends a message.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what Trump was doing with Jeffrey. If I can get Jeffrey, I can get you.
Well, I know these victims probably knew Virginia
Yeah.
and maybe knew her mindset and maybe felt as though that she wasn't suicidal. I mean, she's gotten to this age, she's in her 40s. She got a book deal where she made a lot of money. She wasn't struggling for money. She had things finally going her way. She was speaking the truth. And then she commits suicide. I hate to
Yeah.
be a conspiracy theorist, but when it comes to Donald Trump, nothing's off the table.
No.
Everything is possible, no matter how crazy it seems.
Well, take, for example, these quote drug boats, right?
Yeah.
He is ordering the U.S. military to murder people without due process that we don't know anything about. We know that fentanyl is not made in Venezuela, for example, not even one bit is made
Yeah.
there. So him saying that these are fentanyl or what is bullshit. And so these are, I don't know what these boats are. Perhaps they are drug related, but they certainly couldn't make it to the U.S.
No,
So
hell no.
he yes, someone who orders that has no morality. I personally think those are illegal orders. I mean, war is given, only Congress can declare war. Now, we've gotten away from that ever since Korea. No one ever declared war in Korea. That was, quote, a police action. And then Vietnam, same kind of thing. We did authorize military action in Iraq, but I'm not sure we really declared war, did we? I'm not sure.
No, I don't think we did.
And then,
So,
yeah,
so
in either case,
when
in either Iraq war or Afghanistan.
when they say that only Congress can declare war,
Yeah.
and we have Korea and we have Vietnam and we have Iraq. How is that even a thing anymore? You keep saying that. It's like all these little rules, the Hatch rule and stuff like that. Oh, he broke the
Yeah.
Hatch. Nobody's ever been fucking indicted for it. They don't
No.
enforce it at all. And it's the same with Congress enacting war. They keep saying that, but people keep going against it and nobody does anything about it.
Well, I think the failing of the founding fathers, if you want to call them that, their failing was that they did not include an enforcement mechanism against
Yeah.
the president. I mean, you can impeach him, but if his party is in the majority, they're never going to remove him. So the impeachment becomes a worthless exercise, except in PR, I suppose, because here we have Trump impeached twice, but not removed. Uh, or forbidden to run again. He breaks every rule and gets by with it because there is no enforcement mechanism, period.
Yeah. I know you like movies. I know you like history. My wife and I went to see Nuremberg yesterday, the
Yeah.
movie. Very good movie. I would highly recommend anybody seeing it, not for only entertainment purposes, but for informational purposes. And I got to tell you, there were so many parallels to what's happening today. One of the main characters was Russell Crowe. He played Herman Goring.
Yeah.
He wasn't dissimilar to Donald Trump, except he was
Not at
smarter.
all.
They
Yeah,
were
very much
very
so.
similar.
Yeah. I always thought he and Dick Cheney had more in common, but I mean, as far as
Well, yeah,
intellect, but yeah, I mean, he was definitely, without totally amoral but very intelligent, was able to do what he did, and really was the strength in the Third Reich as opposed to Hitler, who was more of a Donald Trump figure in my mind, who was all mouth and no intellect.
yeah, I think you're probably right about that. Hitler didn't play a role in this movie because he was allegedly already dead. But Herman Goring, it was interesting. Rami Malek played the psychiatrist who tried to get in his head. And after meeting him the first couple of times, Rami Malek or Malik said something that was very reminiscent of Donald Trump. He said he was these things, and he said he's a classic narcissist.
Yeah,
And that
exactly.
whole narcissism aspect of somebody in power is extremely dangerous. We're seeing it with Donald Trump. He is a narcissist. He can't be wrong. But what took Goring down ultimately is the thing that should take Donald Trump down if anybody had the courage to use it, and it was his own ego, setting him up. You know, setting him up to admit to something that he wouldn't normally admit to just for his own ego's sake. And
Yeah,
the whole thing was uh, intriguing to me because not only are there some parallels as to what Nazi Germany was like then. I mean, they were very punitive. They were killing people, and then saying, "I don't know anything about it." Well, you were second in command, bitch. How do you not know about it?
exactly.
And that's what narcissists do. I don't know anything about that. Sound familiar, Donald Trump? I don't know anything about that. That's. But I think people should see it because it gives us a roadmap of how to end this motherfucking thing. It wasn't easy at Nuremberg, um, but it can be done. and people need to watch it and understand what happened there.
Absolutely. And I've always had an interest in it because one of the judges came from my hometown where I'm sitting right now. As a matter of fact, if I turn my head and look, I can see the house that
Was it
his
Robert
actually
Jackson?
no, his Winfield B. Hale. The Hale
Okay.
family has always been very prominent here. Ruth Hale, part of the Algonquin Round Table I've mentioned before, was part of that same family and others too. But he was a prominent lawyer and judge, and he was one of the judges at Nuremberg. So I've always had, an interest in it, and it dovetails right into what we started off talking about today: illegal orders.
Right.
That these guys were convicted and hung for following illegal orders, and they were not allowed to say, "I was just following orders." This is the precedent here that we have to follow. That you have to put the fear of God into the military, that they can't just go along, that they have to have, and it's difficult. It's difficult, believe me. It's very difficult when you are in a military situation to say, no, I'm not going to do that. But it is incumbent on you to do that. That's part of your duties. Do not follow illegal orders, period.
Well, and the interesting thing you don't hear about is after watching that movie, they have the Nuremberg trial. A lot of people thought they shouldn't have it. They should have just shot him. But
Yeah,
one judge, this Robert Jackson, justice on the Supreme Court, said, we've got to do um, a trial to make it
yeah,
fair. And unfortunately, nobody had ever done an international trial before. So nobody knew what the fuck they were doing. They had to
yeah,
figure it out as they went. But the interesting thing to me was in that era, in the 40s, they had the trial. And immediately after the trial ended and they were found guilty, later that night, they walked him in one by one and hung him in front of a crowd of people. It was, I didn't imagine that that's how that went down. I thought there was more procedure and more time. That night, they fucking hung him in a basement someplace in a gallows that was built specifically for that.
yeah. And there were no appeals.
No, no, there were absolutely,
And
one of the things, go
you've
ahead.
got to, what, were some innocent people hung? Who knows? Probably not. I think they did a pretty good job of vetting. Did some guilty people get away? Damn straight. One of them one of them headed up our rocket program in NASA, Werner von Braun. He
Yeah.
was guilty. He should have been hung with the rest of them, but we went in and we took the ones we wanted under a directive called Operation Paperclip and flew them to the United States and whitewashed them and let them get back to work. Yeah, we did that. They should have suffered the same price. They used slave labor and all of the stuff that the people are hung were did, but they got away with it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things people are talking about now uh, is the cracks that are showing up in the Trump administration and how it's coming apart, wheels coming off the bus, if you will. And this is something I always knew would happen, but I never in my wildest dreams would believe that it would have taken this long to happen. But let's talk about some of those cracks. You mentioned it's been a while since we talked. You mentioned the elections.
Yeah, the blue wave.
It was a blue wave. There's no question about it. But do you see that as a signal of something?
Yeah, I think it says that the midterms. I mean, if you look at the polls too, and I'm leery of polls, but they're all in agreement. Trump is only his very dedicated base still supports him in any way.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking 25 to 75. There's 75% negative to 25. So it's even encroaching on his MAGA base now in
Yeah.
some areas, particularly the economy and others. But yeah, unless he remember that the cornered animal is the most dangerous. He is cornered now. So he has nothing to lose by being as awful as he can be. So that's why he lashes out at these senators because he's getting ready to give a lot of illegal orders. So he doesn't want people disregarding them. The only way he survives is somehow or other to use his little private army to shut down Congress or something. I'm not sure what he's going to try to do, but unless, as I believe, he proves himself mortal and assumes room temperature before Thanksgiving, I think he will try something.
You know, when you said that, I thought, well, yeah, maybe Thanksgiving, maybe Christmas, whatever. But I'm sorry to tell you, a lot of motherfuckers remember you saying that, and they always say, "Well, we'll see if Ed's right about before Thanksgiving." Are you still feeling strong about that possibility?
I saw him the other night and I thought, geez. I mean, this guy's doing stream of consciousness bullshit to McDonald's people. He's talking
Yeah.
about drip, drip, drip water, and I mean, you get him late in the day, man. He's almost already got one foot in, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to say it's not possible. I mean, it's closer now. We're a week away from Thanksgiving, or less than a week away, and he is kind of a cockroach. That fucker
Yeah.
survived some shit, so we don't really know. Let's just say whenever he goes, it's going to be a joyous day for everybody, whether it's kicked out or keels over. I don't really care. Now that election, do you think that's a red flag that the Republicans as a party recognize as a problem? Or are they so delusional they think everything's okay?
No, I think they're all scared to death. I think that's why you see someone like a Marjorie Taylor Greene deciding to say, okay, I'm disassociating here. You know, Mike Johnson can't. I mean, he's too far in there now. I mean, he can't back off. And some of the others are in the same boat. But the ones who haven't exactly declared, but I see them running, you know. I see Marcia, my senator from Tennessee, Blackburn. She's given up the Senate and going to run for governor, supposedly.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of retribution, not just against her. I think Marjorie may have not played it quickly enough. I mean, she's one of these who've been enriching themselves just right along. So she's very corrupt and she was selling all kinds of stocks right before, she was being tipped off by Trump and others about what to do with. We could see that, right? And if the Democrats aren't too guilty of it themselves, they might be able to bring some sort of a hammer down on that. But I do think that the Republicans know what's coming. I mean, every time they have a special election, they lose it. We saw the blue wave, which was definitive. I mean, there was no question. It wasn't like this was, it could have gone either way. No, this
No,
was a message that people sent. My groceries are too high, and you can't lie and tell me they're not.
right, right. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene, a lot of people will make the mistake. Well, she hates Donald Trump now. She's our friend. She's not our
Mm-mm.
friend. She's a stupid piece of shit. I am more than happy to use her for what she's worth. But when she's done, I don't feel any better or any differently about her. I will cast her aside in a second after we've gained whatever advantage we have by her speaking out.
As long as we're talking about dumb women, um, and most women are not dumb. Let me say that right off. But a couple who are Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert. Lauren
Right.
Boebert, however, and without morality apparently at all, they bring her in and to the Situation Room and try to get her to go against releasing the Epstein files. She holds steady. That tells me she sees the handwriting on the wall. She doesn't want to be labeled as one who kept those out of. She doesn't want to be labeled. She's willing to risk the ire of Donald Trump in order to survive.
What does that say about the Republican Party? I always have said and I've always known that they will eventually turn away from Donald Trump and kick him to the curb. What does
Yeah,
it say about the Republican Party that the two with the most foresight, and I'm not saying they have integrity, but the integrity more so than the rest of the Republicans, who would have picked those two to be the ones to first see the light and turn away from Donald Trump? That's just fucking amazing to me because they are the two dumbest people in Congress.
yeah. It's that simple, and I don't know what does it say about those and they're male and female
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
who are so amoral that they are willing to try to keep this information from coming out. They know it's true. They know
Yeah.
he's a pedophile. They know he's a worthless piece of shit. Yet they are going to do their best to keep him in office and keep the power of the presidency on their side. I think Newt Gingrich was wildly successful in getting rid of anyone with integrity in the Republican Party. And what we have left now is pure self interest on all of them. We see a few that for some reason maybe they're thinking like Trump, I want to try to get into heaven or something. I'm talking Mitch McConnell. Here's a guy who, as well as I do, he could have stopped that resolution if he had wanted to. A couple of words to a couple of senators, and it would not have passed. He chose not
Absolutely.
to.
Well, and that's the other question about the cracks in this thing. This whole Epstein thing, they fought like hell to get 218 votes to do the discharge petition. Then when it comes up for a vote in the House of Representatives, it's 427 to 1. There was some thought that there would be a lot more Republicans than we expected to vote for it. They were kind of put in a bad situation. They were either going to piss off their constituents or piss off Donald Trump. And at that moment, they chose the constituents over Donald Trump, which may be the first time in all of the time that Donald Trump's been in power that they've done that.
Yeah.
Um, and then they go to the Senate. They think, okay, it's going to be harder in the Senate. They may not pass in the Senate, but then they get a unanimous consent in the Senate in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then Donald Trump has the option to sign it. I mean, if he doesn't sign it or he vetoes it, it's going to come back and he's going to get overthrown in the veto because there's just too many people.
Right.
Do you feel like that was a crack? Do you feel like that was the first step away from Donald Trump? Because I think it's Donald Trump tried to make it out to be not a big deal. Well, I said, yeah, go ahead, vote for it. But he did that because he knew they were going to do it anyway and he wanted to save
Right.
some face. A lot of people may argue with me about this, but I think that was really kind of a turning point. That was the first time we saw Republicans, all Republicans, go against Donald Trump.
I agree with you 1,000%. Now in the House, I think maybe uh, they looked at it like, okay, we can vote for it because the Senate's going to kill it, or they're going to offer amendments that will essentially kill it. So we're going to vote for it. That saves us in the eyes of our constituents, and it won't matter to Trump because the Senate will kill it. But Mitch, and I'm sure it was Mitch, who said, we're going with the Democrats on this one. We had our chance to get rid of this motherfucker twice and we blew it. I mean, this is a guy who's been in the Senate forever. He has a legacy, that he wants. What's he got left? The guy freezes every 2 seconds. He's not long for the world. So maybe
Yeah.
he is having a little conscience or something, but something happened there where he said it ends here. We can't, this will destroy the Republican Party forever if we protect this pedophile.
So you agree that what happened that day was was big. I think
Oh
that was a
yeah.
big step toward Donald Trump's demise.
I think I saw a video of Mike Johnson fleeing up a stairway while reporters were calling out to him about this, and the guy was terrified. He was friggin' terrified after the Senate acted because he hadn't expected it. He had expected amendments or something. You could tell, but he was totally blindsided on this, which you wouldn't have expected to happen.
No, you wouldn't. And you're right. After the Senate gave unanimous consent. I mean, he said when he sent the bill over, said he didn't like the bill. I hope the Senate does the right thing and makes some changes, some restrictions, which was weird because he still voted for it in spite of the fact that he doesn't like it. So it goes to the Senate. He expects the Senate to save him. They get the unanimous consent in short order. And Mike Johnson's walking through the halls and up some steps, and he is absolutely shook. he cannot believe what happened,
Yeah.
and he doesn't know what to do now because he's got a problem. He's got to address Donald Trump. He's got to address the people in his own state. He doesn't really. I mean, he voted for that bill because he knows he would have got crucified in Louisiana if he
Yeah.
didn't sign it. So he was caught between a rock and a hard place, and he's freaking the fuck out. Do you think Mike Johnson survives very long? Because I've talked to some people, and they've suggested even if the Republicans want to get rid of him, Democrats might save him just to keep him in the middle of this fucking thing.
I think that would happen. The other thing is who replaces him? Who wants to take on that mantle? Who wants to be the guy who has to try to save Donald Trump? At this point, it's their career or Donald Trump. Nobody wants that job. I mean, nobody wanted it before Johnson anyway. He was an idiot to take it, and yet he did. I mean, you look at this guy. I don't know if you remember the movie Jaws, but the old sea captain's talking about a shark, and he says they have, it's just black. It's like a doll's eyes. Well,
Yeah,
that's Mike Johnson. There's nothing there
yeah.
except some sort of I'm not sure what it is, fanaticism, I guess, more than anything.
Some other people have suggested too. This may be an option for the Republicans. The reason they want the Epstein files to get released. They've been looking for a way out from Donald Trump for at least the last 11 months. And with all that's happened and all the damage he's done to the Republican Party in this country, they need an excuse to get rid of him that won't alienate the base because they still believe the base will stick with them. I personally think when Donald Trump's gone, the base will go back to not voting at all. They aren't saving anything. But
I agree.
but do you think the Republicans are setting this up in a way where it destroys Donald Trump's reputation, his image, and everything, so they have an excuse to get rid of him? Because more and more people are talking about the possibility of an impeachment. Um, some
That could
people have come
happen.
out. Some people coming out from the Democratic Party are saying there's definitely going to be articles of impeachment before Christmas. That's what they're saying.
And I believe that. I think that is actually going to happen. And as you say, I think Republicans are going to try to salvage the party. Otherwise, they have nothing. They can't be independents. They have to be. And remember, every election is decided not by partisans, but by the swing voters. Okay. We have this group of people, which boggles my mind. I can't understand it, who will vote for Obama one time and Trump the next. We know that
Right,
happens. And that
right.
is I suppose that's the self-interested voter who sees that, okay, it'll be good for me if this guy's in now or whatever. But they have swung to the blue. Okay, we're seeing that. That's what made that blue wave. The Democrats voted, of course, but so did the swing voters, and they voted blue. So that sent the message to the Republicans: if we're going to get rid of Trump, we can do it now. And they have to. I mean, if somebody's holding a gun to your head for 8 years, do you not start to resent it? And that's
I
what
would
he's
think
been
so.
doing with the Republican members of Congress in the Senate. I mean, or the House and the Senate, to governors and to pretty much anybody that he can influence. It's always the stick, not the carrot, that he's been wielding all of these years. And at some point, it's got to come back on him. I hope. Otherwise, there's no justice in the universe, and we're just flailing in the dark.
My I knew the Republicans would step up against Donald Trump and throw him under the bus eventually. Like I say, I had no idea that it would take this long. That just shows the cowardice of the Republican Party. But in these situations, like if it's a bully, say you got a bully in a classroom and everybody's cowering, going, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. The moment one person stands up, punches that motherfucker in the mouth and he goes down, then it's a fucking hog pile.
Yeah.
Everybody's on it. And I suspect that's what we're going to see. We're going to see something to take him down a notch that he can't recover from. And then it's going to be an avalanche of people on top of him. Because, like you say, they are frustrated and tired of the bullshit. Because if you think we're getting bullshit, hearing what we hear on the on television, those people in the background, the Republicans, they're getting berated, they're getting treated poorly by Donald Trump because that's just how he does business. There was an audio recording. I don't know if you saw it on TikTok. I don't know if it was real or not, but Donald Trump was screaming,
Yeah.
"You don't let those files out because if I go down, I'm taking everybody down with me." Sounds like classic Donald Trump. Some people said it was AI, and then somebody put it in AI and say, "Is this AI?" And they said, "No, it's not AI." I don't know if it's real, but I can hear him saying it, and that's
Sounded real.
definitely got to be
Yeah.
the attitude.
Oh, of course it
The
is. That's exactly what you would expect, right?
Yeah. So Donald Trump signs this thing because he really has no option. Even if he vetoed it, it would be overridden ultimately in a second vote, especially in a second vote. Then he would look weak. And Donald Trump is all about trying to look strong and not look weak. That's how he reacts to things. And he never thinks past the ends of his nose. So he figures, okay, I'll sign this, but I'll figure something out between now and the 30 days before it's supposed to be released. And then we talk about all the possible hurdles he could put up. Um, he could claim that there's another investigation, so we just can't do it. Um, but then GOP representatives and senators come out and said to Pam Bondi, "You better not fucking slow walk this. You better not." There's another person that's terrified, Pam Bondi. You
Oh, yeah.
watch her, and when she's talking, she doesn't know what the fuck to do at this point.
Well, they've got her on a couple of different financial things. For one thing, that's going to come
Yeah,
out. And they're just
yeah,
starting, the cracks have just started there for one thing. So, but yeah, we have Thomas Massey, Republican congressman, who says if they try to slow walk it, I'll read the names on the floor of the House. And there's a couple, Marjorie Taylor Greene said the same thing.
yeah.
So they won't be able to slow walk it, or they'll just do it. They'll just bring it out because they've been able to see enough that this is going to happen, right? And I don't think they can stop it at this point. At least I hope not. Now, the one thing that does bother me a little bit or worries me, because once Trump's gone, it's not over. We still
No,
have Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, and who's the guy you said is going to buy CNN or TikTok? What's his
Larry
face?
Ellison.
Larry Ellison. You got these guys, right? They're still there. They're the power behind Trump. They were the money guys behind Trump, and maybe the ones rigging elections. And who knows? There's I'm going to let that one pass because I can't prove a damn thing, even though I suspect it. I really think that Trump did not win the election. I think it was manipulated, but I can't prove it, so we'll let that go. But those guys are still going to be there. And what I'm hearing from the Democrats now really pisses me off. We got to get back to the center. We got to repudiate this guy in New York, this Democratic socialist. Bullshit. Bullshit. He got elected because of what he was saying. He overrode everybody else. People are ready for the left to come back strong. We need FDR policies. That's what we need. We need Lyndon Johnson policies. We need the left, not the center. Fuck the center. Fuck the center. It's nothing but Republican light, and it never wins. We had two narcissists in presidents in my experience. One of them was Donald Trump. The other one was Bill Clinton.
Yeah,
I hate them
absolutely.
both.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of either. And when they say, that's what the Republicans say. Well, Bill Clinton's in it. Like we go, oh no, Bill Clinton's in it. Let's not talk about it. Fuck Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Fuck Bill Clinton. And the revelation that we got out of the emails about potential pictures of Donald Trump blowing Bubba. People thought it was Bill Clinton at first. Then we found out there's another GOP donor that's called Bubba. Then we found out there was a horse named Bubba. I don't give a fuck who he was blowing. I want to see that picture.
I really don't, but that's just me. I mean, there's only certain things my eyes will put up with before I'm forced to rip them from my head. But at any rate, I want to see it put out there, though. Other people can look at it. I remember we know that Donald Trump settled lawsuits with both young girls and boys.
Yeah.
We know that. That's a matter of public record, and why they don't bring that up more often, I don't know. But there's like a dozen lawsuits settled with nobody went to court because of his actions. Some of them were with young boys.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the one thing when I heard that come out, and whether that's true or not,
Yeah, we don't.
I start thinking to myself, and not to diminish, the abuse of these young girls, but I'm wondering if this whole fucking thing, one of the reasons they don't want it out is more a P. Diddy type of thing. It's all kinds of fucked up, crazy, sexual, financial, international shit that people don't want to get out. Because honestly, I hear apologists on TikTok and YouTube and such. Well, she was 15. That's almost 18. Making that
Megan
discrepancy.
Kelly, right?
Megyn Kelly, but not just her, a lot of other people saying,
Yeah.
15 years old, and they're trying to make it normalize it. Um, I think a lot of people that vote for Donald Trump don't see having sex with a 15-year-old girl as a big deal. Maybe some of the folks down in Tennessee or Alabama or Mississippi, this is a common day occurrence and they don't think it's a big deal. So then why is Donald Trump so upset about releasing this stuff? I think it goes deeper than that. I think it's more than sex. It's beyond sex. It's international, and it's financial. This is a big deal, and it's more than what we know at this point. That's my feeling.
Oh, I agree 1,000%. I think ultimately, the Republican Party that has evolved in this century, in the 21st century, is heavily dominated by Christian nationalists or people who exploit that particular group. And a big part of that is the exploitation of women, and particularly young women. Remember, Mary was like 13 or something, I think. I mean, we don't really know. But that is the tradition that older men, younger women in that group, this is something they see as very natural and normal, or having more than one wife, or having a wife and a bunch of concubines. I mean, that's biblical marriage for you right there. If you're into
Yeah.
that, they're always quoting biblical marriage, biblical. Well, which one? Okay,
Yeah.
a man and a woman, a man and several women. It's that is one of the root causes of what's wrong with this country, that influence from that group of people. They have a lot of money and they want to basically, they always scream about Sharia law, Sharia law. What they want is the law of Moses, and there's not that much difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. People have also talked about if the files get released, they'll be heavily redacted. Now, I looked at the bill and it was pretty clear. Any redactions that are made, they have to explain why they were made and validate their reason for. And we're talking like what, 100 terabytes? I mean, a lot of shit. The idea
Yeah.
that they've been able to go through all that and redact it. I always go back to what I say about Donald Trump and the Republicans. They always fuck up. They
Mhm.
always fuck up. They may have tried to redact some things. I don't think they got all of it. I don't think they maybe did it properly in the sense they can hide it. It will be pretty obvious. There have been many people who have seen these documents, and they'll say, "No, no, there's pages missing out of that one, or
Yeah.
this is that." And we know that other people have these documents. We know the UK, the royal family must have the documents. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done what they did to Andrew.
Exactly. Exactly. I
They
mean,
wouldn't have
they
fired
basically
the
said
ambassador.
there's no way to fight, there's no way to fight this. There isn't. It's
No,
here, black and white. We got to react. The remember the Trump administration, particularly this iteration of it, as opposed to his first term, there are no competent people in it. He
no,
allowed no competence at all in this administration. It was all loyalty. All, you will do what I say. Will you do what I say? Okay, you got the job. You are vaguely qualified for it in some bizarro world. So we're going to put you in. Linda McMahon is education secretary. Pete Hegseth is defense. This is insane. Look at this woman he stuck in as the prosecutor to go after Comey. She blows it immediately. the woman is not qualified for the job he gave her. The same thing with Judge Janine. You know, there's nothing but incompetence here. Nothing but incompetence. They cannot stop what's coming.
No, no, they don't have the wherewithal to do it. You brought up Lindsey Halligan, the
Yeah,
prosecutor who's not a prosecutor. He wanted to prosecute James Comey, Letitia James, John Bolton. The real prosecutor said, "Yeah, there's nothing here." So he brings in this bimbo lawyer who's an insurance lawyer who's never prosecuted anything. She goes to the goes to the grand jury and makes this pitch. And as you said, she fucks it up. She doesn't do what she's supposed to do. And that in itself may blow up the whole case and all of James' case because they're saying she wasn't even put in the job properly or legally. They aren't going
yeah,
to get these two, at least these first two, to go to trial. They're
no,
going to be thrown out well beforehand and they're going to be embarrassed.
yeah,
So the
and
question is,
there
how
may
does
even be
Pam Bondi and
consequences. Go
well,
ahead.
yeah, there will be consequences for it. But look at what's going on now with Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche, the Attorney
Right.
General, the Deputy Attorney General. Two fucking clowns. Um, they have their own DOJ going after their own people now. Ed
Yeah.
Martin and somebody else with the housing.
Right.
They're going after them for doing wrong with investigations and bringing people off the street and just being corrupt as fuck. People are saying, why is Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche not just giving these people a pass and going after them? And I suggest it's this: they're tired of looking stupid. Even though they are complicit and sycophants to Donald Trump, they are looking stupid every time they fucking do something. And they're tired of that. So they got to lay the blame on somebody. And
Yeah.
they don't want to take the blame for it.
Exactly. I mean, they are quite simply, incompetent, each and every one of them, and they keep doing like Pete Hegseth, calling in all of these generals and railing against them. I mean, uh, this is third world dictatorship bullshit. And everybody knows it. And that alone should have said to the military, you got to get rid of this guy. He's a dangerous motherfucker. You got to take him down. You got to send SEAL Team 6 to his house.
Yeah, yeah, no shit. And when you say a third world dictatorship, I'd like to add something to that. They are like a third world dictatorship if that third world dictatorship was the Apple Dumpling Gang.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
And thank God for their incompetence because for as bad as it is now, it would be way worse if somebody like Herman Goring or somebody with half a fucking mind uh, was doing these same things. Donald Trump is failing at every turn. He loses every fucking court case. He gets embarrassed. He can't hide the Epstein files. Nothing he's doing is working. And this
Well,
is
I,
typical of a narcissist. They always end up failing in a big way because they can't manage everything.
well, yeah, look, and he brings the Saudi prince to the White House. This is the guy who not only masterminded the murder of Khashoggi, he did, he ordered it. Our own intelligence said, yeah, it was him. He did it, he
Yeah.
ordered it. So Trump is there. Well, he knew nothing about it, even though our own intelligence services says, oh, yes, he did. And how soon we forget. I mean, these are the people. This is what happened on 9/11. It wasn't
Yeah.
Iraq. It wasn't Afghanistan. It was the fucking Saudis. Every one of the terrorists in 9/11 was a Saudi, except two from Yemen. And Osama bin Laden was a Saudi. Yeah, it was the Saudis who destroyed the World Trade Center and brought on the Gulf Wars. It was not Iraq. It was not anyone else. It was the Saudis. They've always been that way. They're in bed with both governments, whether it's Democratic or Republican, because of the money. Okay, and they can do that. But we should be against the Saudis, not we should not be engaging with them. I'm sorry. And when Biden goes and fist bumps that motherfucker, it makes me want to slap his teeth out of his mouth. I'm sorry because he knows better.
Well, and it wasn't just Donald Trump that's in bed with the Saudis.
No.
Joe Biden maybe wasn't quite as in bed with the Saudis, but he was deferential to them. But the fucking Bushes, they were in
Oh yeah,
business with the Saudis. That's why the
exactly.
Saudis got a pass on fucking everything.
Yeah. I mean, 9/11, all Saudis, Bin Laden family here in the United States, they fly them out same day. Got to save them. I mean, and I think we knew about Bin Laden long before they finally had to take him out. And who did it? It was Obama
Barack
who finally
Obama.
took
Yeah.
him out. I think they knew right where he was the whole time, but they didn't want to piss off the Saudis.
No. And that's getting tiresome because
Yeah.
they are culpable for a lot of negativity in this country, a lot of terroristic attacks, and it's all about money. And people say, "What are you going to do when the Republicans are out and the Republicans are out, Democrats are in control? What are you going to have to talk about then?" Well, I'm going to
Talk about
pick and
Democrats.
choose Democrats that are fucked up because we've got
Yeah.
our share. We do.
Absolutely. I'm up to here with the Middle East, quite frankly.
Yeah,
Israel, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, I don't give a shit for any of them, okay?
I don't either.
We should not be as engaged as we are. We certainly shouldn't be giving Israel all the money we do when we are suffering here, okay? There's no reason for that, all right? Except that, the um, politicians get a lot of money from the Israel lobby. I've got nothing against Israel at all, as long as they're not doing genocide. Okay, I hate Hamas. I think they're terrible for the people. I think that the people should turn on them and murder every one of them in their sleep. Absolutely. But we can't solve that problem. What we can do is go to renewables. Shit, we've got all the oil we need here. We're producing more than anybody else. We're producing more than we need. Start putting in the renewables, and before long, we could give a shit about what happens in the Middle East.
And that's something that should have been considered back in the 70s when they had a chokehold on us and we had lines and that sort of stuff. Um, but there's money in it for them. I mean, that's the thing with Israel. I think Israel has the same problem the America has. If you say something negative about genocide or something with regards to Israel, oh, you're anti-Semitic. No, I'm not anti-Semitic. I am
No,
against genocide and all that sort of thing. But the problem Israel has, I suspect that the Israeli people are good people, and their religion is fine. Everybody has a choice of what they want to believe in and what they want to follow. Their problem is their fucking leadership, are war criminals, people like
yeah,
Bibi Netanyahu, and we have the same issue here. I feel comfortable in saying that about Israel because we're in the same position. We have good people in this country. The vast majority are good people, but we have leadership that is a criminal element. And we can hate those people and hate Bibi Netanyahu without um, showing disregard for the entire population of any given. I mean, if I hate Israel because of Bibi Netanyahu, then I must hate America because of Donald Trump. That's not the
yeah,
case. I
no.
don't hate everybody, but I hate people that do bad things. I'm fucking sorry.
Well, that's it. I mean, I have Jewish friends. I don't discuss this with them. They have their own opinion. That's fine. I know some of them are big supporters of Israel. Some are not. Um, some see that what I perceive as genocide, they see it the same way. They tend to be quiet about it because they have family and friends who feel exactly the opposite. It's a thorny issue. I'm totally not anti-Semitic. I have nothing against any particular ethnic group. I don't care who they are. They're
Well,
made up of individuals. Individuals. That's I have, I judge people by as individuals, not as part of a group. And that's all there is to it. I don't think in terms of Semitic or non-Semitic or any of that or stereotypes of any kind. Some stereotypes are true. That's why they're stereotypes, but not for everybody. I mean, there are plenty of stereotypes about old white guys that are true. I exemplify some of them, not all.
Exactly. I mean, when I'm talking to somebody, if I've got a friendly conversation going on, whether they're Jewish, Baptist, I don't give a fuck. You believe whatever you want to believe. Same thing with people in the LGBTQ. People say, well, he's gay. So what? I don't give a fuck who's gay. I don't care about anybody's sex life unless I'm involved in it. Then I
Yeah.
got to have a say. But other than that, who gives a fuck? And it's the same with people of color, whether they be brown or black or whatever. To me, it's just an aesthetic. It's like blue eyes, brown hair, gray hair, whatever. I mean, as an old white guy who's not in the best shape and is balding and has a bit of an attitude, there's plenty of reasons why people wouldn't like me. I don't care. It's fucking fine. If you don't
Yeah.
like me because of how I look, that's fine. But I got to tell you, if you got to know me, you'd fucking love me.
It's true. I vouch for it. I got to know it. Yeah, it's one thing I got to throw in here. Yeah, just because I was thinking about it earlier today, and it's totally devoid. It's totally off kilter from anything else we've been talking about. But I got to bring it up, okay? They stopped making pennies, all right, because it
Right.
was costing them 3 cents to make a penny, which is only worth 1 cent. So, I will not mourn the pennies. Okay, I've got two jugs of them right here on my desk that I do nothing with. But at any rate, I was at. We stayed in 5 different hotels on this road trip we had recently, and we stayed in the same one in Schaumburg, Illinois, on the way home, on the way up and the way home, near outside Chicago there. So I we pulled in late, and the only place to eat nearby was a Granite City Brew Pub. Okay,
Okay.
now, I have relatives who work for Granite City, or have worked for Granite City. They think it's a good restaurant and so forth, and it's done well by them. But so I go in and I place my order, and then the order comes, and I pull out my wallet and I take out cash and I pay the girl, and she goes, "I've rounded up because we don't use coins. We don't use
Wow.
coins." So,
Wow.
it was like 12 cents, big deal. But still, if you do that with every customer who pays you cash over a year, that's a chunk of change. That's some rounding
Absolutely.
up.
Well,
And
I heard somebody doing that too regarding, well, because the pennies are ended, we're going to round down or we're going to round up or whatever the fuck we do. And I'm thinking, there's still billions of pennies around just because they're not making them anymore. I
yeah,
got pennies from the 60s. We're not
yeah,
going to run out of fucking pennies.
no, if you need some, like I say, I mean, I've got, here's the one I can lift,
Yeah.
I mean, that's mostly pennies. And then there's one twice that size that I would strain myself if I tried to lift it. But yeah, I got all the pennies I'll ever need right here.
Yeah. Yeah. I, people just react weirdly. I think ending the pennies, that's going to have to change everything though, in terms of, well, how people price things and
Yeah,
how people tax things. Because if you price things in hard numbers, like everything's $12, you still got fucking tax, and
yeah,
pennies are going to come into play. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't really care at this point. I mean, at this point, if you walk into a place, most people are paying with a debit card or a credit card. Most places.
exactly. And most of the time I do at home, but on the road I tend to use cash rather than cards, or I'll use a credit card, but not a debit.
Well, if you go out to the Minnesota Gopher football game or the Vikings football game or a Twins game, you walk up and say, I want a hot dog and a pop, and they give you the price of $300. You can't
Yeah,
pay in cash. You can't pay in
really.
cash. You just cannot. They won't take it. So much so that they have machines across the aisle that if you have cash and no card, you can go over, put money in the machine, pay a percentage, and get a temporary credit card so you can buy the fucking hot dog and the pop for $300.
Yeah,
I'm exaggerating a little.
a
It's
little.
that fucking expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different world in terms of everything. And I think, you were talking about FDR earlier, and we've got this ACA subsidies things coming up.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has said he will not sign any bill that gives an extension to the ACA subsidies.
Now,
And
how can the Republicans, why would they not impeach him? Because he just handed them, the Democrats, the midterm on that.
right.
That will
Well,
do it.
exactly. But the Republicans continue to say we support Donald Trump. We don't want to give away the ACA. We don't want the ACA subsidies. We're standing strong. We only got 1 year. We need 2 years or 3. We're not doing it. We've got to have the vote in December. The Senate has said they would vote for it. The House has not committed to it at all. But you're right. If they don't extend the ACA subsidies, it's going to have a serious impact, more so on red states than it does blue states. And you're right. You do that because Donald Trump wants you to do that. You're going to guarantee a wipeout because between now and then, people will suffer either not having health care or can't afford health care. It's going to be so damaging to the Republicans. I can't imagine if a vote is taken that the Republicans don't vote for it, especially after what happened with the Epstein files.
Yeah, I think they will. Like I say, they're not stupid. You can't go home after having doubled the premiums on somebody's health insurance and ask for their vote again. You just can't do that because they're not going to vote for you unless they're, I don't know, just really stupid, which anybody who voted for Trump was really stupid.
Yeah.
Now it's coming home to them. I hate to insult people, but you're stupid if you voted for Donald Trump. Um,
See, that's where
or
we're different. I don't mind insulting people. In fact, I take great joy in it. I personally think it would be done for the Republicans for this reason. If you don't extend the subsidies and there is a disaster in healthcare and people are without healthcare or can't afford healthcare, that come 2028, it almost guarantees universal healthcare or Medicare for all. People
and
are
that's
going,
what I agree 1,000%, and that's why I say no centricism in the Democratic Party. You got to go left because we got to have universal health care, and that's the only way it'll happen.
well, don't you think that's the climate for the Democrats at this point? Like, for example, um, when the people, was it 8 people or 4 people that voted for the CR, the continuing resolution
Right.
from the Democratic side, the same people came out, said the same things. Oh, the Democrats are weak. They're this, they're that. They're terrible. And people are all upset. Well, people don't like the Democrats much more than the Republicans. And that may or may not be true. Um, but I've said if you want to change the narrative and you don't want people to think you're weak, it's a real easy fix for the Democrats if they're smart enough to understand it. Why do they think the Democrats are weak? Because of Chuck Schumer, Hakeem
Mhm.
Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
If you blow out Chuck Schumer from leadership and put in somebody like Sheldon Whitehouse or somebody who is a fighter, that changes the perspective of the Senate like that. Same with the House. We kick out Hakeem Jeffries and put Jamie Rashkin in, whole different vibe about the Democratic Party. You want to fix the narrative? You want to fix the reputation of the Democrats? Get rid of those fucking leaders that make us look weak.
Well, this is the thing too, and beginning with the Clintons, and that's why I hate Clinton. There was this accommodation of Wall Street,
Yeah.
the Goldman Sachs influence on the Clintons, right? That drove me crazy because you don't do that as a Democrat. You don't go into that. You are in opposition to that, and you have to be. The what FDR was able to do was bring together like the Democratic Farmer Labor Party and all of that. I mean, these very left parties congealed into one gigantic force, and that's what created the middle class, and that's what created Social Security. It was left politics that did that, And when people saw what was happening, what the possibilities were, then they signed on, and that could not be stopped because Wall Street couldn't stop it. Even though they really, really wanted to, they couldn't do it. They could not stand against the people. And that's what happened. And that's what we have to do again. We have to get that momentum. And it has to come from the left, not the center.
Agreed. Yeah, I that may have been the failing of Kamala Harris in her short campaign. When she wanted to kind of buddy up or campaign with Liz Cheney, um, she did that for a specific reason. She thought people hated Donald Trump so much that she might get some of the Republicans to vote for her. Well, that didn't happen, was never going to happen. People don't have a stomach for the center as much as maybe they did. I mean, picking the center is just I don't know what to choose. It's indecision is what it is. And
Yeah.
like you've said before, when we came out of the depression and Hoover and all that stuff and it was far right, it took a hard turn to the left with FDR. And I sense that's kind of where we are now. It's been hard right for a while, or center, or hard right. And people are just fucking tired of suffering and struggling and not having money and not having jobs. That we are set to go hard left, at least for a period of time. And any Democrat that doesn't understand that is going to get left behind. At least I hope that's the case.
Me too. Just don't run again because you're part of the problem if you are trying to hold this back. I mean, this is the country is going to change. There's going to be a reaction to Trump and the Republicans and what they have put in place. And if you don't want to be swept away with them, you better get with the program. You better recognize that Mamdani. I can't. Uh,
Yeah, it's Mom Donnie. I get
Mamdani.
people giving me saying
Mamdani.
you pronounced it wrong. Well, he ain't my fucking mayor. You know who I'm talking
Exactly.
about.
But he's just a mayor. But then you've got out in California, you have the governor there. You have Pritzker up in Illinois. You have these governors and so forth around. They see this. They see where it's going, and it has to go there. It has to go left. You know, you can massage things later, and I always use FDR, but it wasn't just FDR. It was FDR and Francis Perkins, and it was FDR and Eleanor Roosevelt, and it was Bob La Follette in Wisconsin, and it was all across the country. There were these leftists in small groups that all came together because they saw that in the labor groups, the AFL and the CIO coming together and with all of their numbers and with all of their force, they just plowed the Republicans out of the way and kept them
I
out of
th-
the way for 20 years.
I'm going to say something that's going to maybe piss some people off, but I don't care because I believe this. I believe any politician that claims to be a centrist is a fucking coward.
Yes.
You have no um, you have no credibility because either you're one side or you're the other side. We've spent decades and decades of Republicans and some Democrats saying, we'd love to help the middle class, but we can't because we can't afford it. Yet we can afford $1 trillion for a defense department that doesn't need that much money. We can afford trillions of dollars in tax cuts to people who don't need the money and don't return any money to us. It only makes sense. And Joe Biden kind of proved that in his term. If you cultivate the middle class, then the country flourishes because we're
Yes.
the backbone. This is where the money comes from. If you deplete the middle class, you deteriorate the country financially. It seems so obvious, and I don't understand why people don't fucking get that. It's just all about greed. I don't want a lot of money. I want all the money, and that shit's got to stop.
Exactly. I mean, the Bezoses and the Musks and all of these guys have to become dinosaurs. We have to restore the tax structure so that we take 80% of it, okay, above a certain level. If they want to keep it, they got to invest it in a way that benefits the country. We did that. That's why it worked with Eisenhower in the 50s. He was a fucking Republican, remember? But he kept the high taxes on rich people because it works. It just
Yeah.
fucking works. Otherwise, you give them all of this money, they just buy all the politicians and keep all the money and make you who works for them, pay for everything.
Well, and that's why I've said whether we're talking about healthcare or finances or taxes or even the Epstein case, people are misunderstanding the situation that it's a war between right and left, Republicans and Democrats, and it's not. Jeffrey Epstein's situation is a perfect example, perfect illustration of how this is a war, a fight between the wealthy, the middle class, and the poor.
Yeah.
The Jeffrey Epstein files. We know that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were convicted of child sex trafficking. Who did they traffic him to? You can't be convicted of sex trafficking unless you've trafficked them to somebody. And if you've trafficked them to somebody, whoever that somebody is also committing a crime. But there's never been
Exactly.
any investigation. There's never been any prosecution. And why? Because they're wealthy and powerful. That is the only reason why these people have not been held accountable. And it's a perfect illustration how the wealthy feel like and can do whatever they want, and the middle class and the poor groups get decimated. It's all about rich versus poor.
Well, right, and then we have Kash Patel who's saying, "Well, we investigated all the credible things and we didn't find anything." You've got 40 women, well, 1,000 women really saying this happened to me. They're credible. Okay, you're dismissing that. What's wrong with you? Just the other day, he was being grilled by a senator who said, we got all of this stuff from the Epstein estate, and Patel goes, well, we couldn't get that. They're under no obligation to share that with us. And the senator said, bullshit, you moron. It's in word, not exactly, but that's what he said. You're the fucking FBI. You can subpoena any goddamn thing you want. Why haven't you done it? And we know why. Because if you subpoena, you get it, and there it is, and you have to make these people be accountable. We know who some of them are already, right? But
Well, how did Congress get a hold of these files? They subpoenaed them. If Congress can subpoena the Epstein estate, so can the
the
FBI. And,
FBI,
and it's my
exactly.
contention the FBI, prior to this administration, already has all the stuff that the
Of
Epstein
course they do.
estate has. These emails, they've had those. They
Sure
just
they have.
refuse to release them because of who it might hurt, particularly Donald Trump or any other wealthy guy that might be in the group. I'm hoping that at this point, this is not only a breaking point for Donald Trump, but for society in general, where the rich finally fucking lose, because that will change a lot in this country going forward. This whole idea that they're above us and they can do whatever they want and they deserve all the money. We need to change the attitude of people in this country to know who the fight is with and fucking go after them. Go after
Yeah,
them
I,
hard.
I absolutely, and I think that when the time comes, I mean, if it can be done, if because I don't trust Democrats or Republicans when it comes to
No.
releasing things, okay, because they are all connected. They really are. And I think it comes together at a point. It's kind of like a horseshoe. You start down at the bottom, go left, go right, and you get up and it comes together at the top. And I think that's what we have going on here. So I don't know if Bill Gates went to the island. Probably did. I don't know if Mick Jagger went to the island. Probably did. We don't know. We don't know, but
Well,
we can find out.
one of the names that was in the email was a Democratic representative by the name of Plaskett.
Yeah.
She's from the Virgin Islands, and she was in the email. So now you've got the Republicans going, yeah, but what about Plaskett? Fine, expose Plaskett.
Go
But
ahead.
Donald Trump was mentioned in the emails more than anybody,
Mm-hmm.
1,500 times.
Yep.
Don't
But he
tell me
doesn't know
about
it.
Plaskett being mentioned one time and Donald Trump being mentioned 15, 1,600 times. You can investigate her. I have no problem with that. If she's a fucking criminal, crucify her.
Yeah.
But you can't
Same with
ignore the other people that show up all the fucking time.
Yeah, same with Bill Clinton. Impeach him in absentia. You know, take his
Yeah.
name off. You know, whatever you need to do. Dershowitz, whoever, whoever who has been involved with that. I've heard that Clinton never went to the island. He just used the plane. I don't know if that's true. We don't know anything yet. If he was not guilty, he skates. That's fine. If he was guilty, lock him up. I don't care who
Yeah.
they are. But we need to get rid of this idea that there are some people above the law because they have money. And that brings me to the pardons, okay? Because Trump just pardoned 3 people in Tennessee, all right? One, a former House Speaker, and his assistant. The assistant was kind of a Matt Gaetz character who got kicked out because of his emails and stuff. And he and this House Speaker went together and formed this consulting firm and defrauded their other lawmakers. Well, they both went to prison. Trump pardoned him. Okay.
Yeah.
Diane Harshbarger is my representative to Congress. Her husband was sent to prison for importing Chinese drugs and palming them off on the VA as produced in the United States. He went to prison. Trump just pardoned him as well. And the reason that he pardoned him is so he didn't have to pay back the money that he stole, okay? Because Diane Harshbarger is a loyal Trumper. All right.
Right. Right.
So this has got to stop. There has to be some sort of curb put on presidential pardons because they've all done it. They all pardon people who should be dying in prison because they're evil, and also it cancels the reparations that they should be paying. This has got to stop. It has to be addressed somehow.
I'm a firm believer that even if they fuck around with the Epstein files, this administration has proved to be the leakiest administration in the history of the country. And I know that there are people in the DOJ, people in the FBI, other parts of government that have to look to their bosses who are incompetent, but there are people that are appalled by what's happening. And it would not surprise me if something leaks out. If it looks like there's a stumbling block or a hurdle put up by Donald Trump, that something would leak out. And it wouldn't take much. It'd take a picture, a video, an audio
Mhm.
recording. I don't know if you heard about this story. Eugene Vindman. He had his
Yes.
brother Alexander Vindman.
Yeah.
They both work for the White House. This
Whistleblowers.
Eugene, yeah, they
Mhm.
were whistleblowers, and Donald Trump hates them, even though they were part of military intelligence. Eugene Vindman listened to a lot of the calls that Donald Trump made and analyzed them and did whatever the fuck he did with them. But he claims that there is a conversation between Donald Trump and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, MBS, right after the killing of Khashoggi.
Yeah.
And Eugene Vindman, who heard the audio, claims it's incredibly outrageous, um, damning. It's a terrible audio, and he's challenged the White House to release that audio tape. Now, the White House isn't going to release the audio tape, but I'm thinking there might be somebody that has access to that audio tape, and it might get released. And then it does. When you have Republicans in a mind of maybe trying to blow Donald Trump out and ruin his reputation in the process so they can keep the base, it's all those little things. So many people out there that have an axe to grind that could release something if they could do it anonymously and not put themselves at risk. I believe there's going to be some leak of something that's going to be devastating to Donald Trump, and he's not going to know who to fucking threaten, and it will be too late when they do it.
Well, this is true, and I'm hoping that is the case. Sometimes, like you say, when somebody punches the bully, the others pile on.
Yeah.
I hope we have a real pile on along those lines. Now, I'll just say this: we all know that Donald Trump would love to be able to do what the Saudi prince did to Khashoggi and watch while they
Oh yeah.
dismembered a reporter. He would just love that, and probably any of his enemies. I mean, he is that sort who would love to inflict pain on somebody who caused him any sort of problem. We can see that. He is that, what is the word I want? Depraved. He is
Yeah.
simply a depraved individual. Yeah, you voted for a depraved individual if you voted for Donald Trump. So you're not just stupid, you're also evil.
Don't you think he's showing signs of coming apart at the seams? He's at that point where a narcissist just says anything and everything and does anything and everything because he doesn't know where to turn. I mean, referring to a reporter as a piggy,
Piggy.
or
Yeah,
saying we should hang sitting members of Congress. He's at that
yeah.
point now where he's kind of going off the edge, which is a bad sign because we'll go through some shit, but a good sign telling us the end is near.
Yeah, when a rat is dangerous when it's cornered, but if you got a sledgehammer, it's not a problem. And we got a sledgehammer. We just have to use it.
Absolutely. Well, let's go for the fucking sledgehammer. I'm going to wrap things up for the Rational Boomer podcast. Ed, thank you for coming back. I know people were anxious to hear from you, so they'll be wildly anticipating this podcast. And I thank you for taking the time to do that. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
It's fun. I feel like I'm contributing.
Yeah, yeah, that's all we can do. We can only do what we can do. That said, Ed is on TikTok and YouTube. Tell them where they can find you. They should have by
Uh,
now, but
yeah, it's Reelin, Realin apostrophe, Reelin in the years at Holler Troll on TikTok.
on TikTok and the YouTube too, right?
Yeah, YouTube too.
So if you haven't checked out Ed, by all means, people love the historical nature of what you talk about, your opinions, and the way you speak them. You're a good storyteller. So people love hearing it. So check Ed out by all means. Those of you listening, I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.